1996. Won by an Australian, Mick Doohan, a couple of times as well. And yeah, it's got such a rich history, this place, and sometimes we probably forget just how much history this place has. And we've spoken in the coverage earlier, Stubbsy, about the character this track has with the changes in track surfaces. You've got elevation, different style of corners. A setting sun, and throw in some night racing too. So that 5 years ago, a lot of the permanent lighting went into the whole track as an initiative from the New South Wales government as well, and that has just been such an incredible addition to this facility. A lot of drivers, I think every driver you ask, Stubbsy, would say they love night racing, and having those permanent lights here really allows that to happen, and we're going to see plenty of night racing tonight.
We absolutely are. We've got some cracking categories to come, but as the sun begins to set, we're going racing for race 2 of First Focus Radical Cup Australia. Now, start list is slightly different in terms of the way we set the grid for this one. Your second fastest lap from this morning's qualifying session sets the grid for this race. So cuts still will be from the pole from Paddon, Ivory, Brame, Reindler, Knowles, Russell, Furmeister, Edgell. Rui Avern, now in the previous race, went from 8th to 3rd, grabbed a place on the podium. Really drive of the day so far from the returning Kelly, Morris, Claire, Hadid, Hernandez, Medlin, Hannah, Church, Sue Hughes and Mark Cirillo, who's been unwell earlier today and unable to take part in this morning's qualifying session, so they're hoping that he's feeling a little bit better. So that's how we're situated. It is a beautiful evening here at Sydney Motorsport Park. The track temperature will still be reasonably high at the moment, but it'll drop dramatically, you would think, as soon as the UV leaves the track.
Yeah, it will. I mean, it's still, 20 to 4 at the moment in the afternoon, so we'll probably see sunset in the next hour and a half, I'd say, and it's a really tricky one when that sun begins to set into turn 1, because the way this track is located, turn 1, you're heading west, so the sun is, when it's right on the verge of where that mound is past turn 1, you nearly got to take one hand off the wheel and cover your eyes, because it is quite challenging. And even as you come around turn 7, there's a fantastic drone shots that we're getting here at Sydney Motorsport Park. You come out of turn 7 Corporate Hill and you're just blinded by the sun when it drops that low. So you kind of wait and hope that the sun gets below that mound, and then you're sort of okay. But at the moment, it shouldn't be too bad for these guys, but it's at a point of the day now where the track temperature will be starting to drop.
So bunching up now for our rolling start in their lines of 2. We did see 2 5-second penalties in race 1 for false starts, so everyone will be on their best behaviours. We're in the control of Cooper Cutts, though. It will be he who decides when we make the jump here as we head onto the Brabham Straight to get this one started. This is race 2, First Focus Radical Cup Australia. In our first race, there was pretty much contact between our 2 front runners. What are we in store for race number 2? All eyes on the Brabham Straight. Side by side, rolling start for the Radicals. Holding, waiting, and racing on the outside. Peter Paddon again gets a good jump, and he's in front of Cutts heading down into turn 1. Can he stick it around the outside? It's a long way home from there. Cutts on the inside and getting clear. Is he? As we head into turn number 2, Cutts still on the inside. Contact there. Contact between our 2 race leaders. The puff of smoke. Has that done damage? Paddon has continued his charge against Cutts on the inside. A spin. He's gone around. There's gravel all over the track. And that's the 45 of Hunt. He started from 3rd on the 2nd row. He had pole position 12 months ago here, our last outing at Sydney Motorsport Park, and that is a disaster for the dual driver entry there of Hunt. So we'll keep an eye on him with Colin Ivory, who's due to share that car with him. See some smoke in the background there. So that's a problem for Terry Knowles.
Yeah, it looks like a puncture there. Front left damage, and looks like a left front puncture. Either that or tyre rubbing on the guard. But that race start between Cutts and Paddon was almost identical to the first race, and that contact all the way down to turn number 2 is pretty much what we saw in the opener. And unfortunately for Josh Hunt, it just looked like, I don't know if he just grabbed that inside curb. We've got another spinner in the background down at the hairpin, so I'm not sure who that is back there, but fingers crossed no one makes contact. But yeah, the start of the race out into turn number 3, and Josh Hunt having that spin. Thankfully, everyone avoiding him, and he has he managed to get out of it? Yes, he has. Just gone through sector 2 now. So that's a bit of a shame for him. And Terry Knowles, who he had a spin, as we know, in the first race as well. But I think they might have to box that car and just check over that front left.
So the first lap is in the books. 25-minute races. These are 4 of them across the weekend. A sprint round, 5 rounds for the season. This is round number 2 after great battles at Phillip Island. Today's great first race for Cooper Cutts. So a familiar scene. Cutts, he leads. Paddon right behind him. The pair have won between them every race so far this year and 10 of 12 in 2024. They are the dominant duo, but the field is closing the gap behind them. The all-white car there of Zig Furmeister, he returns to the field this year. He's doing well in 6th.
I was just going to say, Paddon is actually really keeping with Cutts in this one. So the first race this morning, Cutts was just able to extend that advantage quite early on and then manage it from there. But Paddon's really hanging on to this second place, and then you can see now Terry Knowles in the pits, and he's got front splitter damage, so he's obviously made contact with someone, and I'd say that the splitter would have just gone into the tyre and given that left front a puncture. So we'll see what they do, whether they can put some sort of race tape or something on it, or they might. A massive moment off the last corner for
Peter Paddon. Yeah,
Paddon, geez.
That was a rare mistake for someone of his experience, and our defending champion with the number 1 on the side and the front of his radical. That was a wild moment at high speed, leaving turn 11 around 100 kilometres an hour before working up to 220 as you enter and go through turn number 1. A slight lift, no brake, game on with the arrow.
Yeah, well, I think he would have had to lift at that last corner when he got out of there, so we knew he was pushing, and maybe he just tried to get on the throttle a bit too early and try and just get a better run. But it's a tough one, that last corner, because it does tighten up on the exit. If you try and pick up the throttle too early, the front, lifts up, and it was pretty close to the back of Cutts as well. So he's just dropped a wheel on the exit there and gone onto that ripple as we see a move. Is that Moore on Brame as well? So they're side by side now.
Yeah, this is for 3rd position. So this is a great bit of racing between this pair. So Moore in that joint entry with Chris Reindler. And Moore it is in front as we head down to turn 8.
Really nice move actually into turn number 6 there. Showed the nose late and no contact. They were side by side through turn 6. And I guess he has the advantage then into turn 7, does more. So that's a nice move, and see if he can sort of make some inroads into Paddon. But even Avern has made some ground as well in this one as also.
So that's the number 34 of Tim Edgell, who had some issues in the opening race earlier today. He was at the rear of the field, spent some time in the pits. So we'll see what he's capable of. The Kiwi champion that he is, super experienced, 2-time New Zealand V8 champ. Great to have him as part of our field, another big field of 20. As we see Moore now pressing on, having made that move on Brame, and he's got himself already a little gap on the 42.
I think they've probably called it on Terry Knowles' car as well there, so probably too much damage on that left front. And that's, because you get 2 sets of tyres for the weekend, if you put that spare tyre on, then it's going to be doing more work before the races tomorrow. So it's a tough one, but yeah, such a shame for the 68 of Terry Knowles there. Yeah,
tough one for him. He came into the weekend leading our masterclass by 6 points, but it hasn't been a masterclass for him. It's been a tough day so far, but he'll be back tomorrow. Very experienced driver. 3rd in 2024 outright, sharing with Barton Moore, but doing it solo on his own this year. So much bigger weekends for him, much more to think about, having to carry it all on his own 2 shoulders.
Cooper now is really starting to stretch his legs. Purple sector 1, purple sector 2. Those first couple of laps, just trying to bring the tyre in gently, not trying to overwork them while the pressures come up, and he's just set the fast lap of the race. As we've got, is that Morris stuck? Where's he stuck at? That's turn, I don't even know, turn 6 on the inside, maybe? Or turn 5? Not sure how he's beat it there. It looks like turn 6 to me. Yeah, it is. So if he can't get that thing out of there, may be having Oh, here we go. And he's got back on the track just. Trying to find a gear, I think. So I'm not sure what's happened there, but
he's been testing the limits a little bit so far. Phillip Island race 3, it caused a safety car there, so he's pushing hard, and that's what we love to see. So at the moment, it is our race 1 winner leading this one. Cooper Cutts from Paddon, Moore, Brame, Avern, Furmeister, Edgell, Russell, Kelly, and rounding out the 10 is Peter Clare. Picking up Sue Hughes now. This livery, a throwback livery. And it's looking great too. A new car for her after 10 years in her previous model. And totally different, she said at Phillip Island, to everything that she knew of her previous car. And made some nice progressions across the weekend at the island. And it looks like she's doing so here too.
Josh Hunt, who was back in last after that spin, is up to 11th. So he's just making his way through the traffic, but he's about 20 seconds off the lead here. As that Church in the lane as well. So not sure what's going on here, but fingers crossed they can get that thing sorted. Maybe back out on the track. Not sure what's happened there.
Yeah, the Silver Bullet with an issue, but this is Cutts, the 16 out in front, and it looks like he's already catching up with some traffic.
I think that was that the Morris car, I think, spun down at
correct
turn number 6. So, but yeah, he's put a gap now on Paddon, 1.6 seconds, and Moore in third, about 10 seconds behind that. So, and Brame doing a great job in the AM class. He's 4th outright and leading that class. But yeah, Cooper Cutts, he's just hasn't put a foot wrong so far this weekend, has he, Stubbsy?
Not at all. Andre Heimgartner, of course, Supercars driver, who you know well, Tom, doing the driver coaching work with Cooper. And so impressed. Oh, that was close for Peter Paddon there with Morris. Perhaps Morris not quite seeing or expecting Paddon to arrive there at turn 7 on the exit, but they managed to avoid contact, and Paddon continues his chase for Cutts. The gap at the moment, 1.619 seconds with just over 10 minutes remaining.
Well, with that lap traffic, Paddon actually gained about half a second in the middle sector on Cooper Cutts. So the gaps, I'm just about to say, as they cross the line here, whether he's actually made a gain. So that last lap, it was actually equal on the last lap, so that gap now is about 1.6 seconds. So as we look at this battle now between, is that Clare and Hunt maybe? No, that's Edgell.
Yeah.
Edgell now.
And Avern in the blue car, who was on the podium in our previous race today, the 17-year-old. Phillip Island was his national circuit racing debut, but he's just dropped a spot there.
Looks like they've got the Church car back out on track as well, so it's just, unfortunately, just Terry Knowles in the lane.
So Edgell there continuing on, the Aucklander. Furmeister there. Great to see some additions to this year's Radical Cup Australia. Zig Furmeister on screen now, a proven front runner, returning this year. Great to see him back. Likewise, that was Brad Russell in the 18, the bubblegum car, with its new livery for this weekend. The Radical slightly different with the pink. You can't miss it. It's a good look, as opposed to the more less is more approach, perhaps, of Zig Furmeister in front in the white.
216, you know the story behind that number. But I tell you what, the bubblegum livery of Russell, he had a great run in that first race this morning, finishing in 4th position and not too far behind Avern as well. And Avern was in 3rd position, so Avern currently sits in 6th. And just looking at the lap times from race 1, so Cooper Cutts, his fastest lap was about a 28.6, and Peter Paddon did a 29.5. And at the moment, Cutts has done a 29.0 and Paddon's done a 29.3. So it seems like Paddon's made a bit of a gain in terms of the outright race pace on Cooper Cutts. And we saw that gap got out to about 5 seconds at the line. So at the moment, it's just under 2 seconds between Cooper Cutts and Peter Paddon. And whether or not Cooper's just trying to save some tyre, because it is quite hard on tyres this track, especially this section of the track through 6, 7, as we look at this lovely drone shot once again. And we're going to be seeing not too far in the distant future all those light panels lit up, and we'll be seeing the track under lights, which will be a fascinating sight. But this really gives you a great snapshot of just how compact the track is, and there's a lot going on at this track. It's super busy, corners that just flow onto corners, so it's all about getting that car placement right and just nailing your apex points, especially at the low grip surfaces. But yeah, as Cooper Cuts exits the final corner, and he's about to commence lap number 9, so this will be the end of lap 8, and that gap now is still just around that 2-second marker, with Moore back in 3rd position and further 10 seconds behind.
So Cooper Cuts in control at the moment, just over 7 minutes remaining. So as we get ready to call this one towards its conclusion, Tom, I think we need to get an update from you on your GT World Challenge Australia powered by AWS qualifying session from earlier today. An untimely KFC car caused red flag, meaning you weren't able to get a lap in. I believe you actually have to now ask for permission to be able to race. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is very much the case, Stubbsy. I can't remember the last time I did a qualifying session and was 4 minutes off the pole time. So it's been a long time. I can't even remember if I've ever had to get approval to start a race. So that'll be for tomorrow's race. I went up and saw the clerk, of course, and I think we're going to be okay. But my co-driver, Marcel Zalua, did a cracking job in his qualifying, and he qualified 4th. So that's going to be a fun race tonight under lights. So he'll start that one, and then I'll be handed over the reins around about that 25-30 minute mark. So it's going to be a good race tonight. So
and some great racing happening here at the moment too. We just saw Hunt continuing his charge up the field, and this is Brame at the moment involved in a battle with Edgell. So
that's really heating up. We saw Brame had to actually cover into turn 8 there as well. So easy to do when you're the car in front to cover. I think is that Josh Hunt? Yeah, making a move on the inside.
Slicing and dicing.
Yeah, that was
isn't it?
Burmeister, I think. So he's had a good lap this lap, has Josh Hunt. I think he's got 2 in that lap. So he's been now up to when they cross the line. I think they'll be, he'll up to P7 now. So he's got Avern in front of him, 2 seconds up the road. So certainly plenty of pace in that car. And Josh Hunt, his fastest time is a 29.6, and that's in traffic, having to pass cars constantly. So it's a bit of a case of what could have been Stubbsy if he hadn't have had that spin there at turn 3 on the opening lap, because he really could have pressured those leading cars potentially.
He's shown great pace here previously. He's had pole position here, and loves Sydney Motorsport Park, and why not, especially in conditions like this time of the year as the heat begins to drip out of the day. It's going to be a fast racetrack tonight, isn't it?
It will be, absolutely. I mean, the weather's been impeccable today, I should say, and there's really not been a lot of wind and no rain. We've been blessed with the weather gods so far today and for the weekend. Yesterday was a little bit questionable. We had quite a few downpours, and the track actually has quite good drainage here. So depending on the weather and if there's wind, the track can go dry quite quickly. And cars like this, high aero cars with floors, like full floors and diffusers, that really sucks up the water and allows the track to dry quicker. But today we've seen a very dry running. The track's definitely been fast. We've seen in the Radical qualifying this morning, the track was quick. GT4, the track was super quick. I mean, Jared Hughes did a 33.0, which was blinding fast. So a lot of pace out there today. Ideal conditions for racing. Like I said, we've been blessed today with the weather. So and the racing has been a lot of fun as well so far today.
So Josh Hunt, how high can he get? He's chasing down Ruri Avern and getting a little close towards the back of the 17-year-old. There was the experienced Hunt. He's going to be looking and timing his next dive and see if he can pick off another spot and get into the top 6.
I reckon top 4 would be achievable looking at the gaps. That could be possible. I mean, we've got about 3.5 minutes to go plus a lap. I mean, it's one thing catching Stubbsy, it's another thing passing. So once he gets further up the grid, he gets the pace offset is a lot less. So it's going to get, it gets harder and harder to overtake. So top 5, I think, would be pretty cool for him. And that is top 5 there, those 2 cars in front of him. They just go past some lap traffic. I think that might have been Church, actually, in the silver and green Radical, as it looks like Hunt's putting a move down the inside on the exit of turn number 8, and now he's got the inside for turn 9. So that's another move up to P6 now.
Gets the job done, and the next in the queue for him is right there in front of him as well. It's Tim Edgell, the Kiwi. So he's hunting down another position. What a great recovery drive this has been from Josh Hunt. The gap at the front, Cooper Cutts out to 2.6 seconds over Peter Paddon, as Cutts looks to make it 2 from 2.
Well, he certainly held in there this race more than the race 1. I mean, the gap, like we said, blew out to 5 or 6 seconds there, but it's about 2.5 second gap compared to what we saw in race 1. And there is Josh Hunt making that move on Brame. So that puts him into the top 5 now. The task will be if he can catch 4th. But I mean, top 5 from being 20th after the opening lap, that's still a pretty impressive fight back.
That's it. Edgell is the target that we think he may be able to get to. So we'll keep an eye on this. So this is the battle there for 4th, 5th and 6th. Moore is in 3rd at the moment as he looks to round out the podium.
And what that's done, Stubbsy, it's that move that Hunt's put on Avern. It's brought Furmeister and Avern, on Brame, sorry. It's put Brame and Avern back together in that battle that they were in previously. So these 2 guys just here, they are still in a pretty healthy battle, which they've been in pretty much the whole race. So I'm interested to see who will come out on top there.
So that's the good thing, isn't it, about progressive grids. Edgell had a really tough opening race this weekend, but it didn't matter. He was able to reset. So as we said, this grid was set from the 2nd fastest laps from qualifying this morning. So he gets to reset, Edgell, on his debut with our category here this year. And the Kiwis made the most of the opportunity. So he sits in 4th position. His ITM sponsorship that we see really great supporters of motorsport in New Zealand, ITM.
Yeah, they're great. Such a great company. Deb Day from ITM. She's been a long supporter of, a Kiwi driver known as Brendan Leach. Supported him for a long time, and also the supercars rounds that we've had there in the past, and including this year. So they've been a massive supporter of the ITM Super 440 that it was called this year. And they've got such a rich history in motorsport. They love their racing cars, and it's so good that they support and look after these up-and-comers as well. And like Brendan, for example, in the GT World Challenge, he's been doing a lot of Lamborghini Super Trofeo in the past. I was teammates with him back in 2017 in the Toyota Racing Series. He's a super dedicated driver, knows how to steer those Audi GT3 cars, and he's a ripper bloke too.
He sure is. 6 weekends of racing in a row around the world, Brendan Leach. It's not a bad life, is it? And not a bad life, not a bad day so far for Cutts. Pole position to get things started, and the 2 points there. A point for the fastest lap in the opening race of the weekend, on his way to victory there. And at the moment, yes, purple for Cooper Cutts for the fastest lap in this race, and a lead of 2.7 seconds over his great rival, Peter Paddon.
I think Josh Hunt is probably going to have to settle for 5th here, but still, that was an impressive fight back from 20th on the grid. From 20th after the spin, So he did start this race in 3rd position, and that unfortunate spin, maybe cold tyres or just grabbed that curb, unsettled the rear of the car and couldn't hang on. So they're currently on their 2nd last lap, so once they cross the line, they will commence the final lap of what is the 2nd race of the First Focus Radical Cup Australia series for this weekend. So at the moment, Cooper Cutts, he has just not put a foot wrong, has he, Stubbsy?
No, he has been so smooth. He's been really cool, calm and collected, and pressured at the start of both races with Peter Paddon alongside him, trying to go around the outside of turn 1, but the youngster elbows out, and it's that aggression that Heimgartner, his coach, was saying that's really impressed him. He has learnt to have that confidence and to stick that to the racing line and not let himself get pushed around, especially by Paddon, the experienced rival. So on to the last lap now for Cutts we go. Sue Hughes is not too far up the road in 17th place, so perhaps some traffic may come into play here on this final lap, but Cooper looks like he should be able to manage that.
Well, also, just to add to your point about all the coaching you've been doing with Andre Heimgartner, not only his racecraft, but spatial awareness is a really big thing in racing, and to know where he needs to put the car to hold Paddon out into turn 2, make sure he gets his braking marker. And the key there for when you're trying to pass someone at turn 2 is you don't actually need to go past them, because then you have the risk of what we call a switchback. So it was all about that car placement. Oh no, Ibi Hadid had a moment down at turn number 7 at Corporate Hill, but he's got the thing back on track. I don't know whether he's maybe lost the rear there or something, but thankfully there's plenty of runoff there. So as we go back to Cooper Cutts, like I said, he just knows where to place the car, knows where the cars are around him to do clean overtakes, and since the start of the race, turn 2, he hasn't really looked back.
So what a day it has been for Cooper Cutts. Pole position and a win in race number 1. A fastest lap as well there. He comes around onto the Brabham Straight for the final lap for race number 2. He's turned a deficit in the championship into a championship lead. A day out for the 22-year-old from Western Australia. 2 from 2 for Cooper Cutts. Peter Paddon crosses the line in third. Sue Hughes there, lap traffic, as Moore is set to come around and complete the podium, but an outstanding drive start to finish for Cooper Cutts.
Just extending that championship lead too, isn't he? He took that over this morning by a very, very small margin, and he's just extended that ever so slightly a bit more. So, yeah, cracking drive from Cutts. Great racing room and racing between Cutts and Paddon on the start there, and it was a great fight back from Josh Hunt as well to go from 3rd back to 20th with that spin and to finish in the top 5. Yeah, very impressive.
Impressive indeed. A fantastic race, especially for Cooper Cutts, leading all the way. There's a 10-second penalties just popped up for Brame, who crossed the line in 6th position, so that's going to be a bit of an issue for him to deal with. He will tumble down the leaderboard from there where you see at the moment, so 32 seconds, add another 10 to that, and that pops him out a lot further down the field. Cooper Cutts from Peter Paddon, Bryce Moore, Tim Edgell and Josh Hunt rounding out the top 5 from Brame, Avern, Russell, Kelly and Cirillo.
And then we've got Peter Clare, Jim Hernandez, Bill Medlin, Sean Hanna, Ibi Hadid, who we saw had that moment on the second last lap for him. Thankfully no contact with any of the walls. Sue Hughes, Warwick Morris, Furmeister, Church, and unfortunately Terry Knowles was in the pits for pretty much that whole race after some contact. As we go to the highlights now of the second race, pretty much copy and paste from race 1 in turn number 1 and 2, and there's that moment for Josh Hunt, had that spin and that off that you picked up, Stubbsy, for Paddon, and it was kind of kind of a case of when you're off there, it's actually hard to get back on because you've got those 2 wheels running off, and Josh Hunt, a little lock up there, pushing, trying to make up some of that lost ground, and he did a fantastic job getting back into the top 5, and that was Morris who had that off at turn 6, got it going again, and that was sort of play on from there.
As Cooper Cutts, we avoided a red flag, or a safety car, sorry, there with Morris, so the gap, he was able to manage that at the front of the pack. It was also a great race though for Edgell, coming across from Auckland and pushing hard and managing to finishing in 4th. Hunt continuing his charge, picking off Furmeister there, working his way back inside the top 10. Ruri Avern, he gets him as well. Hunt, he was the star, the drive of the day for mine. Josh Hunt, what a great recovery it was in the end, managing to get himself up into 5th place. There he is, Hunt getting the job done. That's another one in the book over Brame, who copped that 10-second penalty. It was great racing throughout the field, this grid of 20. As the Aucklander, he continued his press at the front to find his way in the top 5, but it was all about Cooper Cutts once again. A second win on day 1 of the second round of the Shannon Speed Series at Sydney Motorsport Park. Let's get some reaction. Isabella.
Yes, joined alongside our race winner again today, Cooper Cutts. Perfect day for you. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it was a good day. That was a really tough race. I probably didn't realise how much tyre I actually used up in the first race. So from about halfway to the end, I was driving on ice, it felt like. So that was really tough, but I managed to come away with the win, so happy with that.
And we know you've been mentored by Andre Heimgartner. Obviously, he's been giving you some good advice to come out and taking the double win here today. What's that mentorship process been like?
He has a very soothing voice in my ears, so it's great to have him. He knows a lot, and he's been really helpful for where I'm at now. So I really can't thank him enough.
Well done.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, we're going to move across here and see if we can grab a quick word with Peter Paddon. Peter, sorry if I could just grab you again. Back-to-back podiums. I know you've got pretty lofty standards. You're always trying to battle for that race win, but how do you assess your Saturday?
Oh, it's a fantastic day. You know, it's always good to drive a race car on a Saturday, so certainly can't complain. That race was a lot better than the first one. We were able to stick with him for a little bit longer. Still struggling for pace. You know, we need to figure out what the difference is. But yeah, it was a fun race. First couple of laps, you know, I thought it might have been in with a sniff, but we didn't quite have enough.
Looking forward to seeing how you bounce back tomorrow. Thanks for your time.
Thanks very much.
I'm going to move across here to our third place getter in Bryce Moore. If I could just grab you, sorry. A really fantastic result. You said earlier today, you told us a podium finish is the goal, and you've achieved it in this second race. How did that feel?
Yeah, no, really good. Yeah, to come back from where we were is pretty impressive, I think. As I said earlier as well, you know, those two front cars are sort of in a bit of a different league. So if we can be putting it on the podium with this, I'm pretty happy. Team's just done a fantastic job. Chris has done an unreal job in the race one. It was pretty good to watch to come from 20th up back to 6th. So yeah, just happy, really happy.
Congratulations and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
We've still got plenty more racing action to come this afternoon from Sydney Motorsport Park. Next up, we go